Yeehaw. Greetings audience, I'm Boomstick, and today we're going to be talking about the Slab. The Slab, or Silly's Lever Action Blaster, is a 3D printed lever prime springer that takes talons. So obviously, half darts. The files for the Slab are available on SillyButts' GitHub, and the hardware for the Slab is available from Silver Fox Industries. And I'll, of course, have all of the links down below in the description, so make sure you check them out. Now, I will say the Slab I have here is a V3 Slab. SillyButts has updated to a V4, which uses the V4 Talon Claw bars here. So there are a few slight differences between the V3 and the V4, one of which being a quick spring swap on the front here. So there are a few minor differences, some minor upgrades, so keep that in mind that this is technically an outdated version of the Slab. Much like a lot of other Silly blasters out there, the printing is very straightforward, pretty simple, and the assembly is interesting. Not difficult, just interesting in places. Like, how many do you know they give you an option to use a hair tie in place of elastic, which worked beautifully. You can see a lot of really interesting things like that in Silly's designs, whether it be the Slab or the Thumper or any of the other blasters you've seen me do. And as far as comfort goes, I found that this fits my hand pretty nicely. I went with the larger lever just because I wanted a little bit more space. I know I've had levers in the past where they were a little bit more cramped, so I liked having the extra space, and it also makes it easier for when you want to do fancy tricks like this. I find that the space between my shoulder and the blaster and everything does work really well for priming off the shoulder. But I will say that it will vary on performance based off your height. I'm like 5'10" and a half, so it's good for me. It might not be good for somebody shorter, or if you're really tall or really long arms or really short arms. Obviously, your mileage will vary. There is an option to where you can get the Slab without the stock, which if you're really wanting to like carry it in your back or on a hip or something, which I've seen some people do, which is really cool, you might want to go with that. But for me personally, this is just perfect. Now, while you can technically slam fire, it doesn't perform well. In order to slam fire, you push down like you normally would, and then as you're lifting up, you're just literally holding the finger down, so it's just a matter of... Now, when you rapid fire like that with those shots, you're usually losing a little bit because as you're pulling forward, you're usually staying with the next shot, so you're not getting quite the same performance. But technically speaking, if you're saying an HVZ or something, you could technically just slam fire out some shots against the zombies. You just might give yourself a jam, though. That's the only issue with slam fire. So you can technically do it. It's just not very good. Now, even though this doesn't have the quick spring change that the V4 Slab does, I do have a nice screw right here in order for me to change out barrels to get a little bit different FPS. So if I really wanted to bring it down, I could probably go for a shorter or longer barrel depending on what game I'm playing with. I'm really fascinated how the whole catch system works, because you actuate the catch, which is up in the front here, because you have a nice little turnaround system right here, but you're actuating it with this bar going all the way back to here, which is just a very unique and interesting thing. Again, much like the rest of Silly's designs, they work well. They're just very interesting and kind of out of the box, which I find fascinating. Unlike some of his other designs, it does have some nice sling point options, which I do love. You got a nice sling point option in the back, and you technically have one on the front as well. And if you don't like this smooth foregrip, or you want to put on a crooked cousin or something like that, he does have an option that gives you railway on the bottom here. I just really liked how the design looked with a nice smooth front foregrip. Now with my current setup that I got with my V3 hardware, I'm getting around like 190s to 200 FPS, which is kind of a standard for the games that I play down here. But I will say it is actually very easy to change it out for a different setup, giving you differing FPS. So if you want to run this for HVZ, which a few people did do at End War, or at least one person that I know of, you absolutely could. And the prime on it is really light. Because you're using a lever system, it really distributes the weight of the spring, making it a lot easier to prime. So if you're somebody who struggles with the heavier primes of the, say, 200 FPS or even higher, I really recommend maybe getting the Slab if you have more trouble with stuff like that, because it really is a whole lot lighter than a pump action would be. And there's really few other blasters that really give you that nice cowboy feel when you're firing it. Now, unfortunately, I know what you're all probably wanting to do with this, and with the spring weight you have behind it, I really don't think you're going to be able to whip it forward to prime it. Yeah, that's not really feasible, but as I've already displayed several times, you can still do a few tricks with it. But, of course, that's enough gabbing. Onto the field. At the Maryland Nerfers, I had a really fun time running the Slab. The main challenge was getting used to the new firing stance and working on my aim, because I had a tendency to fire the Slab a little high.
There it is! Yellow shirt! You're hit! I'm sailing right over his head.
At the DMV Nerfers field, we did some 2v2 games where the ability to smoothly and quickly fire shots made the Slab very competitive. The size of the Slab made it a little tricky to stay behind cover, but overall it made for an excellent blaster on the field.
Yes! Oh, finally!
Now that we've had a chance to run it a couple of games, let's go over our overall thoughts and opinions. Overall, I really like it. It's really smooth, it's really comfortable to use, and it's just a lot of fun. So it checks off a lot of the boxes that I look for when deciding what blaster to run. Now let's talk about cons. Firstly, one of the cons that I have, which apparently has been fixed in the V4, is you have to disassemble this to put something on the rails like a sight, or at least something that doesn't completely separate and you're attaching from either side. If you have something that you need to slide on, you will have to take this apart because there's not enough space on either side of the rails to actually get something to slide over it. But for what I've been told, that is fixed in the V4, so you shouldn't have to worry about it. Now, one con that could be there for you is this is not a easy blaster to tuck into cover with because the way the stock is. I mean, you could lower it down here, but it's not going to be as comfortable, whereas with some pump action blasters, you're able to crouch in a little bit more, so the size and the style of the blaster doesn't lend itself as well to hunkering down behind cover. So if you're more of the bunkering style, you might not be as good with it, but I do think that the cons that I've said really are quite minor, because this is just such an amazingly fun blaster to use. Not to mention, it's not a hard build, and it's got an easy prime for the power that you can get out of it. And I can definitely say that as of now, this is the best lever action blaster that you can get on the market right now. So let's bring up my blaster rating system. We're going to put it right there. Still pretty good. We've been getting a lot of really good blasters on our ranking system lately. So if you've been wanting a lever action blaster, look no further, because the Slab is here and it's ready for you to build. Thank you all for watching, and a special thank you to all my lovely patrons, especially Nerf Nothing for being an amazing pro patron. If you'd like to support the channel or any of the other lovely hobbyists mentioned in this video, please check out the links in the description below. Don't forget, all rival status or higher patrons get monthly stickers from yours truly. But if you don't want to support the channel in that way, definitely check out my merch store for patches, blaster charms, shirts, and more. Don't forget to leave me a comment letting me know your thoughts on the video, and as always, like and subscribe for more foam flinging content. I've been Boomstick, and I'm out.
I told ya!